Listen to me. You are standing on the porch of that cabin you bought 3 years ago. It is dead quiet. The city is burning 100 miles away, but here the air is crisp. The pine trees are swaying. You have a solar setup, a well, and a rifle lean-to against the railing. You think you have won the lottery. You think you have escaped the collapse. You take a deep breath, and for a second you feel like a genius. Then, your 6-year-old daughter walks out the screen door. She is holding her stomach. She looks pale. She says she hurts. And in that exact second, the silence of the woods stops being peaceful and starts feeling like a noose. Because you are 90 minutes from a hospital that just lost grid power. You are 10 miles down a dirt road that washed out in last night's storm. And you are about to realize that you didn't bug out to a fortress, you bugged out to a tactical nightmare. We need to talk about the rural retreat fantasy, and why, without military-grade logistics, your safe haven is just a designated gravesite. The fantasy goes like this. When the SHTF, you load the truck, you drive until the pavement turns to gravel, and you live off the land. You think the threat is the Golden Horde, the mobs from the city coming to take your beans. That is the movie version. The reality is boring, slow, and much more lethal. The reality is infrastructure decay. The reality is that rural counties in this country operate on a shoestring budget during good times. In a collapse, they are the first to go dark and the last to get reconnected. I have seen villages in conflict zones that looked idyllic from a drone feed, but on the ground they were death traps because the supply lines were cut. You are trading the high-speed violence of the city for the slow-motion attrition of the country. And attrition kills more people than bullets ever will. If you haven't run the math on your caloric burn versus your crop yield, or your travel time to a level 1 trauma center when the roads are iced over, you aren't preparing. You're just camping. Most of you are guessing. You look at a pantry full of cans and think, we're good for 6 months. The math says you probably have enough for 3 weeks, once you factor in the caloric burn of manual labor when the grid dies. You cannot afford to guess when your family's lives are on the line. I need you to stop estimating and start calculating. Go to protocolsurvival.com. We built a tool called the Survival Score. It runs the numbers on your water storage, your caloric intake, and your medical readiness. It tells you exactly how long you survive before you starve or dehydrate. It is free to try. Don't wait until the lights go out to realize you're short. Go to protocolsurvival.com and get your score. Now back to the mission. Let's play this out. It's day 10 of a regional grid down event. Not a nuclear war, just a massive cyber attack on the Eastern Interconnect. No power, no pumping stations. Weather patterns don't care about politics, so a massive low-pressure system parks over your retreat. It rains for 3 days straight. In the city, this means flooded basements. In your rural paradise, it means the 100-year-old culvert under the only access road to your property just collapsed. You are now an island. You have a truck that can handle mud, sure, but it can't jump a 20-foot ravine where the road used to be. You needed to make a run to the nearest town for antibiotics because that cut on your hand is getting hot and red. Now you can't. You are stuck. This isn't a combat scenario. No one is shooting at you. It is just water and gravity, and they have defeated your entire evacuation plan. Here is the intel on rural infrastructure. It is old, it is brittle, and it is neglected. Studies show that rural municipalities have a massive backlog of critical maintenance. When we talk about the last mile in logistics, we usually mean delivery. In survival, the last mile is your lifeline. If you are relying on a single ingress and egress route, you are violating basic tactical SOPs. One landslide, one downed oak tree, one washed out bridge, and your retreat becomes a prison. And don't think the county road crew is coming to fix it. In a grid-down scenario, the Department of Transportation is prioritising main supply routes, the interstates and the arteries feeding the cities. Your county road 404 is not on the map. You are on your own. If you do not have heavy equipment, a tractor with a bucket, chainsaws and the fuel to run them, you aren't getting out. It gets worse. You lose the road, you lose the comms. Rural broadband and cell towers often share the same fragile physical infrastructure as the power lines. In the city, there is redundancy. Fibre lines run underground, there are overlapping cell towers. Out here, there is one fibre line hanging off a wooden pole that was planted in 1980. When that tree snaps in the ice storm, it takes the power and the internet with it. Now you are blind. You don't know if the crisis is getting better or worse. You don't know if the National Guard is distributing food 20 miles away. You are sitting in the dark, guessing. Intelligence is the most valuable commodity in a survival situation, and by moving to the sticks without a SATCOM backup or a ham radio network you actually know how to use, you have voluntarily blinded yourself. Let's go back to your daughter. The stomach pain wasn't just a bug. It's appendicitis. In the suburbs, this is a routine surgery. You drive 10 minutes, you wait an hour, they fix it. But you are at the retreat. The roads are slick. The nearest rural hospital is 45 miles away on winding 2-lane blacktop. You load her up. You drive fast. But here is the kicker. That rural hospital? It shut down its trauma unit 2 years ago due to funding cuts. You didn't check that when you bought the land, did you? You pull up to the ER doors and they are locked. Or maybe there is a nurse there who tells you they have no surgeon and no power for the OR. You have to go to the next county. That's another hour. The golden hour, that critical 60-minute window to treat trauma or acute illness, is gone. You spent it driving. This is the part that scares me more than any firefight. The medical desert. Rural healthcare in America has been collapsing for decades. Hospitals are closing. EMS services are often volunteer-run. In a disaster, those volunteers are staying home to protect their own families. If you are bugging out to a remote location, you need to accept a brutal fact. You are the doctor. You are the surgeon. You are the hospice care. Do you have antibiotics stocked? Not just a little tube of Neosporin, I mean amoxicillin, doxycycline, Cipro. Do you know the dosage for a 60-pound child versus a 200-pound man? Do you have the ability to hydrate someone intravenously if they can't keep water down? If the answer is no, your cabin is just a waiting room for the coroner. You need to upgrade your medical kit from boo-boo bus to field hospital, and you need the training to use it. And it's not just emergencies, it's the chronic stuff. If you or your spouse takes insulin, blood pressure meds, or heart medication, your timeline is strictly defined by your pharmacy stockpile. In the city, there are hundreds of pharmacies. You might be able to scavenge or trade. In the country, there is one pharmacy in the county seat, and it was looted on day 3. Once your personal supply runs dry, the clock stops. I see so many people prepping guns and ammo who are walking around with untreated hypertension. That stroke is going to drop you way before a looter does. Tactical fitness isn't just about running a mile with a ruck. It's about not being chemically dependent on a supply chain that just evaporated. Let's talk security. You have this idea that you'll be fighting off gangs from the city, but that's not who comes up your driveway. It's a pickup truck. It's 3 guys. They aren't wearing masks. One of them is the guy who sold you firewood last winter. He knows you're from the city. He knows you have a generator because he heard it running. He has a shotgun in the rack, but he's not pointing it at you. Yet. He walks up and says, "My kids are hungry. We know you have supplies. We need them." This is the nightmare. It's not a faceless enemy, it's a desperate neighbour. Do you shoot him? Do you shoot a local who has lived here for 40 years? If you do, you just started a blood feud with the entire county. If you give him food, he will be back tomorrow with 6 more cousins. You are in a lose-lose tactical bind because you are the outsider with the stuff, and they are the locals with the numbers. In the city, police response time is minutes. In rural areas, it can be 45 minutes on the Tuesday afternoon. In a collapse, it is 0. The Sheriff's Department in most rural counties has maybe 5 deputies on patrol for 500 square miles. When the grid goes down, they are going to secure the county seat, the jail, and their own homes. They are not coming to your cabin to settle a dispute. You are the law. That sounds cool until you realise what it means. It means 24-hour shifts. It means you need a fire watch. You need a perimeter. If there are only 2 adults in your group, you are asleep half the time. That is a security gap you cannot close. You can have all the night vision and AR-15s you want, but you still have to sleep. A team of 4 locals who know the terrain can flank you, burn you out, or just wait until you make a mistake. You are isolated. Isolation is not safety. Isolation is exposure. I know what some of you are thinking. I see it in the comments. Sergeant Miller, the National Guard will deploy. They have trucks, helos, supplies. They'll stabilise the region. Listen to me. I have worked with the Guard. They are good people, but they operate on orders. And the orders will be protect critical infrastructure and population density. They are going to the cities. They are going to the power plants. They are going to the food distribution hubs. They are not coming to clear the tree off your driveway in the middle of nowhere. Tactical resources follow the population. If you are in a remote area with 3 people per square mile, you are statistically irrelevant to the disaster recovery plan. You are in a self-reliance zone. That is government speak for you are on your own. Do not build your survival plan on the hope that a convoy of relief trucks is going to deviate from the main supply route to save you. This brings us to social capital. In a small town, currency isn't just dollars, it's history. It's who your grandfather was. It's who you helped fix a barn for in 1998. You, showing up with your shiny F-150 and your tactical gear, you have 0 balance in that bank account. When the crisis hits, communities close ranks. It is a biological imperative. They protect the tribe. You are not in the tribe. You are a resource sink. You are a competitor for the deer in the woods and the fish in the creek. If you haven't spent the last 5 years integrating, going to church, joining the volunteer fire department, coaching Little League, you are just a target. The romantic idea of the grey man doesn't work in a town where everyone knows everyone's truck. You stick out, and when resources get tight, the tribe will tax the outsider first. Let's say you try to barter. You have extra batteries. You need fresh eggs. You go down the road to the farm you've passed 100 times. You walk up to the gate. The farmer is there. But he's not looking at your batteries. He's looking at your boots. They're clean. He's looking at your face. You're well fed. He's been eating cornmeal for 2 weeks. He takes your batteries, sure, but he gives you half the eggs he would give his cousin. And he watches where you go when you leave. You didn't just make a trade, you just gave away intel. You just confirmed that you have surplus. In a high-trust society, commerce is easy. In a low-trust survival scenario, every transaction is a risk assessment. Without social capital, you are getting ripped off at best and followed home at worst. Let's talk about food. The Garden of Eden myth. You think you'll just plant a garden and survive. Have you ever tried to grow enough calories to sustain a family of 4 for a year? I'm not talking about a few tomatoes for a salad. I'm talking about staples. Potatoes, corn, beans. Do you know how much land that takes? About 2 acres of intensive cultivation. Do you have a plow? A horse? Because you aren't doing 2 acres with a shovel, and your rototiller is out of gas. And here is the kicker: pests. In a normal world, you go to the store and buy pesticide. In a collapse, when the potato beetles come, you are picking them off by hand. One swarm of locusts, one early frost, one blight, and your entire year's food supply is gone. Farmers lose crops all the time, but they have crop insurance and a grocery store. You have neither. Relying on a first-year garden for survival is suicide. Then I hear, I'll just hunt. Look at the numbers. During the Great Depression, the deer population in the US was almost wiped out in many states, and that was with a population of 120 million people. We now have 330 million. If the supply chain breaks, every guy with a deer rifle is going into the woods. The game will be gone in 3 weeks. Gone. You might bag a squirrel or a rabbit, but that is a calorie deficit. You burn more energy hunting it than you get from eating it. You are not going to live off the land unless you are in the deep Alaskan bush, and even then, skilled survivalists starve to death. The rural retreat doesn't magically produce food. It requires inputs: fertilizer, seeds, fuel, tools. If you don't have those stockpiled for 5 years, you are just a squatter on your own land. Scenario 4. It's late summer. Dry. A spark from a downed power line or a neighbour burning trash starts a brush fire. In the city, the fire department is there in 6 minutes. Here, the volunteer fire department is out of diesel. The fire is moving up the ridge toward your cabin. You have a garden hose. The pressure is dropping because the well pump is off-grid and your battery bank is low. You watch the smoke line crest the hill. You have to leave. Now. But remember the road? The one that's choked with downed trees? Or maybe the fire has cut off the exit. You are trapped in a wooden box in the middle of a blast furnace. Rural areas are wildfire zones. Without a defensible space of at least 100 yards, a metal roof, and a high-volume water suppression system independent of the grid, your retreat is just kindling. Nature is not your friend. Nature is trying to kill you. Cities create a heat island. They stay warmer. Rural areas? They get cold. Deep cold. If your heating plan relies on propane and the truck stops coming, how much wood do you actually have? A cord? 2 cords? A harsh winter requires 5 to 7 cords of hardwood to heat a poorly insulated cabin. Have you ever chopped, split and stacked 7 cords of wood? It is weeks of back-breaking labour. If you hurt your back doing it, which you will, you are back to the medical problem. No doctor, no pain meds, just you, freezing, unable to move. The elements in the country are raw. There is no ambient heat from the apartment next door. If you lose your heat source, hypothermia sets in fast. The romantic image of the snow-covered cabin is deadly if you don't have redundancy on top of redundancy. We just talked about the fire, the ice, and the lack of intel. When that grid goes down, your cloud data is gone. All those YouTube videos you saved on how to stitch a wound or how to cure meat? Gone. You cannot rely on the cloud. You need a system that works when the world doesn't. I built Protocol Survival to be strictly offline first. It stores your inventory, your medical guides, and your comms plan directly on your device. It doesn't need a signal, it doesn't need a server. It creates a local database of your survival architecture. Secure your data now. Download the app, sync it once, and then disconnect. If the internet dies tomorrow, Your plan shouldn't die with it. Protocol survival. Get it on your phone, put it in a Faraday bag, and be ready. Now, I've hammered you. I've told you why your cabin is a death trap. But here is the pivot. Rural can be safer, but only if you change your mindset. You have to stop treating it like a vacation home and start treating it like a forward operating base, or FOB. A FOB has perimeter security. A FOB has redundant supply lines. A FOB has a relationship with the local population. You cannot be a tourist. You have to be an asset to the community. That means you bring something to the table. Maybe you are the guy who knows how to fix solar inverters. Maybe you are the medic. Maybe you have the ham radio setup that connects the town to the outside world. If you are useful, you are protected. If you are just a mouth to feed, you are expendable. Here is your mission profile. If you have land, go there this weekend. Don't just mow the lawn, go meet the nearest neighbour. Take a case of beer or a pie. Talk to them. Find out who the volunteer fire chief is. Join the Grange. Go to the town hall meetings. You need to build social capital now while the grid is up. You want them to say, "Oh, that's Miller. He's a good guy. He helped me fix my fence." Not, "That's the city slicker with the fancy gate." When the collapse happens, you want to be part of the solution, not the problem. Integrate. That is the only way to survive the isolation. You need a tribe. If you don't have one, build one. If you can't build one, stay in the city where you at least have anonymity. Technically, you need to harden the target. 2 ways in, 2 ways out. If the bridge blows, where is the ford in the river? Do you have a winch? Do you have bolt cutters? For water, you need a manual hand pump on that well because the electric pump is useless without power. You need a gravity-fed filtration system. For comms, get your GMRS license and give radios to your trusted neighbours so you can set up a listening post. Create a sector sketch of your property. Know the dead space. Know where the cover and concealment is. Treat your property like a defensive position. Clear the brush lines. Fortify the entry points. But remember, physical security is secondary to community security. The best alarm system is a neighbour who calls you on the radio and says, "Hey, suspicious truck headed your way." We do this for one reason, not because we want to play soldier, but because when that little girl looks at you, terrified, asking why the lights won't turn on and why she's hungry, you need to have an answer. You need to be the rock. If you drag your family into the woods without a plan, you are not protecting them. You are exposing them to a harder, colder, more unforgiving death than they would face in the suburbs. You have to be better. You have to be smarter. The rural retreat is not a magic shield. It is a tool, and a tool is only as good as the hands that hold it. Sharpen your skills. Harden your logistics. Build your alliances. The world is fragile. The systems we rely on are hanging by a thread. Moving to the country doesn't fix the system. It just removes the safety net. You have to weave your own. Don't look at the map and see empty space as safety. See it as a challenge. The woods don't care about you. The cold doesn't care about you. Only you care about you. Make sure that's enough. Distance isn't what keeps you safe. Preparation is what keeps you safe. Keep your head on a swivel.